I need Instagram to actually go live though. What are we doing? All
Apparently we're
right.
live.
Yeah, we're live. I'm getting things set up on the Instagram end, but while I do that on today's episode of the Trial and Error podcast, as you can see, um, the topic is failing forward in partnerships and relationships, and that's pretty self evident in terms of what we're going to be talking about. So, I'm Brian. I'm Brian. Fearless is
Fearless.
here, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll the intro while I get Instagram set up.
All right.
All right, welcome back to the Trial and Error podcast. My name is Brian. I am marketing. I run a marketing agency called I Sell Words. My entire goal is to get you online, get you creating content, and helping you build an engine to drive business. Whether it's your business or whether you're trying to do some personal development and advancing your careers, my goal is to teach you how to use content creation to do it. Um, Fearless is a life coach. He's about done with his 100 days of free life coaching. And if you miss out on it, you missed it out. I think it's 101 days, right, Fearless? You're almost there, right?
Yeah. Sunday will be my 101 episode because I don't. Oh man, he is gone. So anyway, I'll just go ahead and take over. Uh, so I'm like, yeah, he is gone.
I think
But I got it.
studio.
Yeah. But yeah. So for technically Sunday, no Saturday is actually my 100th episode or whatever, and I said I was gonna do this, and I did it. And so Saturday is my 100th episode, and then Sunday will be my 101 episode because you don't just do what you say you're gonna do; you go above and beyond what you say what you're gonna do. So Sunday will technically be my very last thing, and I'm basically just gonna kind of talk about the accumulation of all 100 episodes, all 100 shows in general, up to that point, man. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's gonna be kind of a bitter type of thing almost, man, because dude, yeah, it's one thing when you sit around talking about um what you're gonna do and how you're gonna go about doing it. I'm gonna do 100 episodes from 8:30 until 10 o'clock at night, every night for 100 days. And then when you're doing it, you're like, oh my God, I got 99 more of these things to do. I got 75 more of these things to do. I got, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I got 50, I got 60, I got 70, whatever. And now it's like I got Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday, I'm done. I mean, officially. Um, so like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. But um, like Brian said, I am a life coach philosopher. And what is it that I do? I teach, train, and sell perspective. What do you think about that, Brian?
That one gets straight to the point. I like that
Yeah,
one.
do you not? Do you like that?
Yeah, that works.
I mean, can I tell you something, Brian?
Yep.
Um, I hit Brian up yesterday, and I said, man, I just want to thank you for being solid. I want to say, I just out of the blue, just hit him up like, hey, man, just thank you, right? And and I think that the reason why I wanted to thank him is because I was talking yesterday, and we were doing this. I was working on a presentation, and the presentation is tonight's part two of part one yesterday, which is the Sam's Club way, and we're talking about Sam Walton,
Mm-hmm.
owner, founder of Walmart, and it's a first off, his book Made in America was an amazing book to read. Amazing. I've seen that book for years, and a few years ago I sat down and finally read it, and I was amazed by that man's grit and his grind, the way he went about certain things, his discography, I guess, if you will, working in the retail field in general. Your boy, he wasn't really messing around. he was he was putting up numbers. And one of the things that, because I had ChatGPT help me write it, one of the things that ChatGPT said that he was a self-made man. And most people who see his story would say he's a self-made man. I'm like, no. And I changed that word from self-made to family made, because he had 4 children, right? 4 kids.
Right.
And the one thing that that set Sam across, aside from everybody else, and I ask people this all the time when they tell me their dreams, goals, aspirations, do you have your family included in what you got going on? Do you have your kids included in your dreams? Do they know about your goals? Do they know about your aspirations? Because if your family doesn't know and it's just you, then dude, I'm telling you right now, you have some problems later,
Right.
because that's all you're going to be doing. Now, if we succeed together, wonderful. If we just so happen to fail together, okay, it's trial and error. But no matter what, we're together when it's happening. When those kids, whenever they would get out of school, that's where they went. They went to Walmart. They went to go work. And when I say out of school, I mean high school. It's like they would come home, they would be at the store doing homework, and then they would get to work. So summer job, that's where they were. I mean, seriously, he started Walmart in 1962. He took the company public in 1970. He was a billionaire by 1985 and dead by 92.
Wow.
I'm just saying though, dude. And I think he was 44, 45 years old in 1962 when they built the first Walmart. You know what I'm saying? And think about it. Walmart is nothing today like it was then, and vice versa.
Right.
Nothing. Nothing. Nowhere near the same thing. Nowhere near the same thing. So I appreciated the story.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated that man's grit and grind. And more so than anything, I appreciated the perspective, because now I get to teach, train, and sell that.
Okay.
And that's what I was also going to tell you. I got the thing because I'm like, dude, I've been struggling for years trying to come up with that perfect elevator pitch that I forgot, homeboy, what's his name? Book Solid, Michael, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
talked about. He's like, man, you should have just something that you tell people of what you do, a 1 sentence, maybe 2, that tells people exactly what it is that you do. And I've been working on that. And I was sitting there thinking, I was looking at your email and your company. And it's like, I sell words. Like, yeah, I mean, you do a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but I sell words. Sometimes it's very specific. It's very short, straight to the point. And I'm like, bro, why don't you? I'm like, there's nothing that says you can't extend it a little bit. So I'm like, okay, so what do you do in a nutshell? You came up with the concept of 2 dads in a bookstore. Perfect. That's a great. It tells you everything you need to know within the name. What do you do? I teach, train, and sell perspective. That's what I do. After that, I was like, dude, that's it. Done. Got that. That's where we at with it.
Right.
Or whatever. And I got that because of looking at your stuff, and I just added a couple things to it. That was it. You know what I'm saying? So again, I wanted to thank you and appreciate and let you know that I am very appreciative of that in general. So just want to say thank you, kind sir.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Anything I could do. Like I said, when I sometimes
Or don't do.
yeah, anything I could do or not do or do accidentally, I'm here to help. So you were talking about the Waltons, and so this does really lend to what we're talking about
Yeah, it
today.
does.
Um, because the thing that it sounds like what Sam Walton did was he made sure that he got his family on the same page as him
Yes,
early on, so
early
that
on.
you could build the culture of the business. Because a lot of times, and this is truth here, when you enter into business, um, it's harder. It feels easier, but sometimes it's harder if you have a misalignment with people within your business. If you have
Yeah.
different visions, if there's not unity of focus or impact, it could be very difficult, and it could actually create barriers for you. And so, by getting all his family on the same page at the beginning, it it kind of he navigated around that, because there's always going to be conflict. Even if you agree with somebody all the time, there's going to be areas where you conflict. But if you guys are working off of two different visions and there's no shared vision, you're setting yourself up. And so at the beginning, he kind of got his family on code. And so, um, but yeah, today is navigating, relationships and partnerships, and
Mhm.
basically, you know, learn from the lessons of things that didn't go right. And so it's going to be kind of a conversation between me and Fearless. We're going to talk about what we've experienced, talk about what other people have experienced, and tap in, guys. If you guys got any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you're listening, leave us a like, um, or something to let us know that you're out there. All right. So I posted a poll on Facebook. Um, and basically it asks, have you ever lost a friend or partner to business differences? And that is a big affirmative for me. Yes, that's actually happened. And so we're going to get into that. Hopefully you guys start answering the poll so we can have a little bit more of a conversation piece around it. Okay. So when we talk about business partnerships, and I know that the proverb is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, travel with somebody, essentially. That doesn't always work for business. And we talked about it with Netflix. Shoot, how many? That was like months and months ago, where Netflix, the key people at Netflix had to have kind of a come to Jesus meeting, and it kind of tested their friendship. Um,
Mhm. Oh yeah, yeah, it did.
and
Yeah.
fortunately, they were a lot more solid, and there was a little bit more humility in that role, but there were still feelings hurt.
I mean, yeah. First and foremost, not at first though.
Yep.
Not at first. And again, going back into like the perspective thing or whatever. Like one of the things that I love talking about and teaching is the aspect of the hero's journey. And when you get that call and you refuse that call or whatever, and then when you have that um um um, um allies and problems that pop up and this and the other, what do you do from that standpoint? And that was one of the things that we talked about with that particular guy. I think what is that book called? He worked at
I can't remember.
yeah, I can't either. I know the
I'll look it
guy's
up.
name is Mark. I know it's Mark something or whatever, because he was also the same guy who created the Red Box
Okay.
or whatever. But yeah, it was him who was forced to step down by Reed, who, I mean, really honestly, at the same time, didn't really do much. And I think that that's the part that pissed Mark off more so than anything else, because it was kind of like his baby. But unfortunately, Mark could only take it so far. And then he got knocked down a couple pegs. And then Reed took over and started doing um, all the other stuff, or whatever. And then he started to understand, Mark, that is, that I'm better at just starting up stuff. And I think that the great thing about that book is that he understood, unfortunately, the hard way, what his lane was.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cases, especially in business, the one thing that a lot of us, and I say us because it's me included, that we forget is that what's our lane?
Right.
What are we good at? What do we feel more comfortable taking on doing? And And I've seen it in both. I've seen it in both areas. There's things that I've gone through personally. There's things that I was exposed to watching other people. So I have the best of both worlds pertaining to that. But losing friends, yeah. And I've also built. I think I made more friends than I've actually lost, though.
Well,
Partnerships, yes, very much so. But friendships, I've gained more.
oh, and one of the things about it is, and it's seductive when you become a business owner, right? Like you started,
Mhm.
you have some success early on, and you think, I'm the expert, I'm the master of my domain. I know I created X, Y, and Z. And it's really the first reality check that you realize is I'm not the best person to occupy this specific part of this specific seat in my
Yep,
business.
yep.
And some people never realize that. Some
Mm,
people never realize that this is outside of my capacity and this is what's making me frustrated or mad, or this is the sticking point. With unstuck sessions, I'm always big about sticking points. This is the sticking point of my business. I've reached the ceiling of my competence. This is how high I can go in this specific part. And just because you reach your peak of competence and your limit in one area doesn't mean that you're incompetent. It just means this is as far as your knowledge can go. That doesn't mean that your ceiling isn't higher somewhere else. And
mhm,
a lot of times when it comes to business partnerships, we want to occupy all the chairs because it's control. We want to control
mm,
our vision. And the more seats we open up, the more control we let go of. But if your vision is coherent and strong, at the end of the day, um, you're gonna win out. If you have a coherent vision and your company and your business is aligned with that specific vision, you concede power as long as you stay within the frameworks of the vision that you had in the first place. And I think people mistake having control for being in control. And those are two
mm,
different things. You
mm.
know, when I was running group homes and stuff, I a lot of my staff were obsessed with being in control. My goal is to have control. When I have control, that means that I can have a day off and be at home and be on call and still be able to manage the entire program without being there.
Mm.
When I was, just, by by being in control, just try to be in control of a situation, you're setting up a power struggle for yourself. You're fighting up against all the other things that are outside of you. But when you actually have control of it, you're steering the general direction of where this ship goes. I think there's a difference, and I think a lot of business owners struggle with that, especially when it does come to the partnership thing. And I have a couple of partnerships that kind of flamed out early on, especially with Coach Mo Athletics, because me and Mo, even though we disagree on stuff, we have a shared vision of what things are going to be. We always run into difficulties when we bring in, you know, this person or this person or this person from the outside. Um, One of the real interesting ones was I had a young man that was actually one of my staff. Um, and we were going to do some collaborative stuff, and I think it wasn't necessarily the fault of either party, but he was in a different season in his life and he
Mm.
wasn't really ready to be an entrepreneur and all that comes with being an entrepreneur, which is sometimes you don't know when that check is coming, and so you got to build for the rainy seasons.
Mhm.
He came to us in a rainy season interpersonally for him, and his expectations of how fast this thing was going to get turned around just didn't align.
Mm.
you know and so that, fortunately the relationship is okay, but from a partnership standpoint, that one got destroyed within a month or two,
Mm.
just because he's coming from the spot where somebody signs his checks to him signing his own checks. And that's a transition that a lot of people struggle with, even as business owners, even if they own their own business and they're not joining somebody else's. They struggle with that. And so, um, you know, it didn't work out because And hindsight being 2020, I would actually sit down and have a conversation on the front end, like, hey man, look, we're providing the leads. We're doing all the marketing. We're doing all the footwork. We're sourcing the clients. We're even giving you clients, right? Um, but it's your job to do the follow-up side of it. And are you actually prepared to do this? You know,
So,
you
like, what does that mean? The follow up side of it, like, what is that?
following up with leads,
Hmm.
following up with making the calls and checking in on lapsed clients or clients that had set up an appointment and flaked on them, and doing a lot of the back end follow-up work. And also, and it wasn't just that, it was a lot of other things that I was still kind of inexperienced in that specific seat. And it's just not understanding that, yeah, there's a gap. When you're a business owner, there's a gap a lot of times between you putting in the work and you getting compensated for the work.
Hmm.
And for a lot of business owners, that's a real struggle. A lot of people that are trying to shift into the business seat, that's a real struggle of understanding that um, there's a gap between when the work gets completed versus when you see your first paycheck.
Gotcha.
You know, it's the concept of, you know, just because a house is built doesn't mean somebody's going to be able to move into it the next day. There's
Hmm.
still a whole process of finding the people to move into it. I hope that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
No, that's perfect.
And so I think what we were dealing with was a misalignment of expectations, because he was kind of looking at, oh, well, these guys, they're able to post for a camp and immediately take payments, but not understanding we still have to pay venue costs, we have to pay insurance, we have to pay a lot of other things before we even pay ourselves. And in that regard, we were actually paying him before we paid ourselves.
Hmm.
So while there was a gap for him, the gap was actually longer for us.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
why didn't you guys just do a thing where it's like a compensation, or what is that? Yeah. Uh, so you do something and you get compensated for
like
that.
a
Like you take a percentage of, like, you know what I'm saying?
like a contractor. Um,
I mean, you can contract it out too, but what is that? What is that called when you, instead of getting an hourly wage, you get compensation?
Yeah, compensation. Well,
Yeah, compensation. Why didn't I just do that?
because we didn't have enough time from the beginning of that to him feeling the pressure of, I got to get a check in the door, I got to get a check in the door, I got to get a check in the door. Um, we didn't have the time to actually build out that structure because we were trying to aim for it, but his needs, and this is like I said, this is nobody's fault or anything. His needs weren't his needs um were more pressing, and he couldn't wait. Like, he was in a position where he could not wait. Young family and the whole nine. And so he needed something that could, where he comes in, puts in the work, gets a paycheck in 2 weeks. He comes in, puts in the work, gets a paycheck, where they set it up and instantly he puts in the work and all he has to do is turn in his timesheet and he gets paid for it. We were trying to build
Mm.
out an entire business model for him and build out reputation and stuff like that. And we couldn't move fast enough to meet his needs, if that makes sense. And it's a tougher thing because when you're a business owner and you want to step into business ownership, when you're coming from a job, it's a different world, man.
Mhm.
It's a different world. Um, you know, Especially if there's no transition period. Like, you have the job and then you're building the business in the background. If you're coming out of, hey, I need a job, and then I'm just start a business, man. um, as opposed to, I have this business idea, I'm working on it in the background, I'm keeping my job. Those are two different things. And when you're on that first part of it, where you're like, okay, I need a job real quick, um, you know, and you don't have the room to bandwidth to build it, because this was years and years ago, right? From the standpoint of what he was trying to do, he hadn't really established anything in terms of like a business framework, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And so we're bringing him on to help out with coaching, get his name out there, and get him to know some of our families. And even saying, hey, this person is a client for you. All you got to do is do X, Y, and Z, give them a rate, and you can work with them. Um, he wasn't there yet, if that makes sense. The
Yeah.
mindset hadn't even shifted over to that point yet, because he was so used to direct deposit check in my bank account every 2 weeks.
Hmm. So what did he do? What did he do before that though?
Worked same place. Like he was one of my he was one of my, he worked with
The
me.
staff at the
Yeah, he worked with me. And
okay, so
so
he doesn't have any experience in
he did, but the framework, like he had experience like one-off kind of coaching thing, but like a durable business where you're out constantly taking in clients and stuff, that's a different mindset shift that needs to happen. You know, it's kind of like I'm a one-off freelancer versus I'm doing this consistently and I have my set clients and stuff like that. And so the learning curve, and I think that was the biggest thing. It was the learning curve. And like I said, it was a mismatch. He needed money faster than we could give it to him. Because especially when you're working with kids and families, they have to build trust with you and they have to get to know you before they give you money. And they're not just going to give you money because we say, hey, give this person money. Especially if there's nothing else set up. So that was one that just didn't work out. And we're still on good terms and everything, but it was a mismatch because he needed stability. And when you first start a business, there is no such thing as that outside of the stability you bring already. Does that make sense? Like there's no real business model where you can just hop in and it's already set up. Even if you step into a franchise that's already pre-built for you, you still have to provide the work. You still have to be able to provide some level of knowing what you're doing. And there's still a gap between when you start the business until you're profitable. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of businesses aren't profitable on day one. And people ain't real, like, that's the real talk. Do you mind if I don't have that? Some burger thing. That's the real talk, y'all. Like a lot of businesses are not profitable day one. They have a windfall built in and they say, okay, we have this much time until we're profitable. And so the first step is, okay, we're not profitable or losing money on this thing. Okay, so the next step is we're breaking even. And you can stay in the break even part for a long time.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, yeah. I'm sure I got a whole bookstore that was never made profit. Never.
But that's what I'm saying, bro. I think, and so this is kind of far afield, but not really. A lot of people don't understand when you start a business, you could be years to profitability. Amazon, I don't know. I think it's Amazon just got profitable, like profitable. Like they still make money, but from a profitability standpoint,
yeah, I don't. Are you sure? Because I think that they still haven't been. Again,
there's a difference.
That's a weird.
Yeah,
that's a weird thing that they got going on.
That's corporate math. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Corporate math is not easy to comprehend. They make money, but I think it was some kind of long tail before they actually
Correct.
became profitable.
Correct.
So I'm actually going to look this up. But a lot of small businesses don't understand that, like, you don't make money on day one. And if you do, if you're in a business where you open your doors and you're printing money the first day, that's amazing. And you've hit upon a gold mine. You should never leave that, because more times than not, it takes time to actually build up to being profitable. So you're in kind of a losing season for a couple of months to a couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they tell you, man. Your first 3 to 5 years in business, man, are those are those years that, man, it's gonna tell you whether or not you're gonna sink or swim.
Right.
You know.
So the way it says, and I don't know, it says, and one is saying it took Amazon 14 years to make it as much in net profit as it lost. Another one says it took 7 years to turn its first quarterly profit. So it took a while for a big major corporation like Amazon with some big money. And I know people, they love the self-made story of Jeff Bezos and everything. But a lot of us do not have relatives that can give us $300,000 to start a business. So, and even then, he even had some big industry backing, and it still took a while for him to be profitable.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that tests a lot of relationships and partnerships, where, well, you started a business, you're losing money. Yeah, we still have to recoup. We're catching up on our costs. It's going to take us a year at this rate to actually be profitable. So that was a whole sidebar that I didn't mean to go down. But
No, I still, but here's the thing, man. The thing is, one of the things I talked about last night, um, going back to our guy, sorry, let me go in here. Going back to Sam Walton, and it's something we were talking about last night. Um, his hold on one tick. Oh, here it is. Um, one of the things that we were discussing with him was the onset of. Hold on, let me go into it. Um, share, uh, share. Was it the share profits? Or was it something else? No, I don't think that's there. It is. Communicate everything that you possibly can.
mhm,
Um, and one of the principles was over communicate, underestimate nobody. He said basically that he said that he said the more they know, the more they'll understand. The more they understand, the more they'll care. And he was talking about their employees. But I was looking at this from a partner standpoint because, and this was even last night, I was talking to um, my people last night,
mhm,
and we were talking about this, and we spent a lot of time uh, talking about it. Was only five principles, but we spent up the whole hour and a half just talking about these five. Thank God I didn't put the other five on here.
right.
I had the fortitude, the foresight to actually split this up. But communicate everything that you possibly can. In certain partnerships, dude, I, I can't speak for everybody, but that was something that I started to see within my partnership. It's like, damn, bro, like, why are you compartmentalizing everything like this is a government?
Mhm,
And then what I started to understand was that this is the type of, this is this certain individual's MO. Like, they like to do that because they like to feel that, well, I need to feel like I'm needed. So if I
right.
know something that you don't, then you can't get rid of me. And it's like, bro, like when you start looking at things from that standpoint, you should probably work alone.
Yeah.
You should probably work alone. And the reason is because there has to be some camaraderie and some trust
Mhm,
in what you're doing. I can't do everything. So I need you to understand what I'm doing. Like, period.
right.
Like, you can't do everything, so let us know what's going on, and so that we can help push all of our stuff, all of our resources over to your end as well. So then we always have something going on. But again, like I said though, if your whole objective is to divide and conquer, if your whole objective is I know what I'm doing over here, y'all do that over there, and then we'll just kind of talk about it if you need to know. It's like that's not a business.
No, that's not.
That's not a business at all. So yeah, and I mean that's kind of
Well, it's kind of a mental. It's kind of a. Here's the thing. So that kind of, when you're saying, if I know something that you don't know, then you can't get rid of me. That is that's the mentality I would almost ascribe to it is that's corporate climbing the ladder kind of stuff.
right. But that's it. And again, that is if your objective is to climb the corporate ladder, perfect. That's a
Yeah.
great idea to have doing that. But when it's your business,
Yeah.
dude, that's an appetite for destruction.
Well, and I've always been the thing. Here's the thing, and I can speak to this as somebody who went from the bottom of the industry I was in when I was corporate, climbing the ladder. I went from the bottom base frontline worker all the way up to one step away, one or two steps removed from the C suite, from the C's, CEO, CFO,
Mm-hmm.
COO kind of stuff. I can tell you that my approach wasn't like that cutthroat kind of thing. My approach was, if I can, this is how I view like managing staff. If I have a staff member that other departments are recruiting, that means I've done my job because I've developed this person well. And
Mm-hmm.
my selfishness comes from their success. So if somebody else wants them, that's a feather in my cap. And that informed my entire ascension up through the ranks of management. And so I didn't believe in a lot of that backstage politicking kind of stuff. And it might have hurt me, but that was the old life. I wouldn't even imagine this in business. I hear business owners talk this old crazy stuff all the time, talking about, well, if I share my idea, somebody's going to steal it and they're going to do X, Y, and Z. It don't
Right.
work like that.
No.
It don't work like that.
In some cases, it does.
Yeah.
In some cases, it does.
Okay, I'll put a caveat there, though. In some
Yes.
cases, it does, but they can't steal your execution of your vision. They can steal your idea and execute it in their own way, but it's vastly different from the vision that you have for yourself.
I mean, yeah, just take the fact of car dealerships. There's 1,001 of them
Right,
who do things a little bit different. Barbers, go to North Mall, you will find one on. You may find several on one corner.
right.
It's crazy.
But people can't steal your execution or your effort or
No.
implementation. And I think when people have when you have that selfish streak, and it sounds weird as a business person to say it,
Mhm.
but that selfish streak actually limits your opportunities. Where you're not sharing information that can help advance the whole business. You're not sharing it freely internally. Um, I don't know. I don't like that if I know this, then you can't get rid of me, because you can't get rid of me in my own business.
Yeah, right. And I mean, it's not like a person's gonna go fuck off and go start something else. I don't put too much into this one.
Right.
So I'm invested in our success together. I'm obsessed with our success together. So I'm going to go above and beyond whatever I need to do to get us from point A to point B, from point B to point J if possible, and move on and consistently go on from there. And and again, when people ask me, how do I feel? First and foremost, I will tell people this. Would I have other business partners? Of course I would.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. I mean, Brian is another business partner of mine. We set our boundaries before we did anything.
Yeah.
Even before we started doing this here or whatever, we set our boundaries beforehand. This is your lane, this is my lane.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we'll do, this is what I do. Done. And I learned that because I didn't do that with my previous, or I can't say previous, but still going business, right? And so and not only that though, but right now what we're doing the YouTube thing, and it doesn't make any money at this present moment in time.
Yeah.
So we don't really, right now we don't care, but we still have an understanding of where each other are in our stuff. Brian sells words, I teach, train, and sell perspective. That's what we do.
Right.
Right. So we at least understand what that is, or whatever. And one of the things that I tell people is that I'm a philosopher and life coach. I love to learn.
Right.
I love to teach. I love to read. I love to learn. This is a learning situation for me. Learning. So that means that this story that I'm telling you, I'm going to eventually charge a lot of money to teach people this shit. So I'm saying, so no, I don't mind getting my ass handed to me. Shit doesn't bother me.
Right.
What's one iota? It does not. Because I'm going to make money off this story within itself, without saying no names, without calling nobody out, because I don't need to do all that. But what I will do is talk about the situation that I found myself in, and the shit that I did, the stuff that my partner did, and the things that both of us were just dumb as shit on. Period. You know what I'm saying? So you have to objectively look at your fuck up.
Yeah.
You have to look at it from that standpoint.
Well, and a lot of times the transactional stuff, like, I think it does. It almost ends up being this weird barrier for your
Mhm.
progress. When and I don't know, it's a weird way. For me, I guess I look at it, and maybe it's just how I operate. Um, like specifically, like what we're doing with this, we're building the framework for the vehicle that's going to be successful with this.
Mhm.
And so we're building out the framework, we're building out the content library. You know, as we get to a point where, like, okay, so now it's time to pivot and make this our machine that generates business. um the perspective changes a little bit. But when I tell y'all I don't hold anything back, I'm not holding anything back, y'all. And that's how I operate. And that's how me and Fearless operate. We don't hold anything back on these streams.
Mhm.
We don't have some insight that we're going to keep to ourselves because we feel like it's going to benefit us later on down the road if we're selfish about it. When we share, when you guys ask questions on here, we give it to you straight, unfiltered, and no upsell. We want to give as much as we can on here, because we know by giving, we're going to put ourselves in the position to receive.
Hmm.
And when you have a business partnership, that's the most important thing. Because when you start lasering down and thinking about, well, if I have this piece of knowledge, I can't, where you're actually setting up internal competition between you and your own partner,
Right.
that limits
That's
what you're
weird,
able to do.
bro.
We're competing with everybody outside of here. We don't need
Right.
we don't need we don't need competition internally, right?
Right.
you know and I think that's where it's hard to put aside your ego, man. That's why a lot of times when it even comes to marriage and stuff, um people have a hard time where they're not competing. They compete with the wrong people for the wrong things.
Hmm.
But creating internal competition where I have something that can help us both out, but I'm gonna hold on to it just so that I can be seen as valuable. You're valuable regardless. Your presence is valued. You don't have
Mhm.
to take extra steps to
No.
make yourself more valuable. So that's just, I don't know.
Mhm. I
That
mean, it's weird, bro. Like, why would you do that to your do that with your own business? Like, you know how backwards that is.
but
But then when you start thinking about it, you start to notice that everybody has a certain mo, and Miranda have operators. Is that what that is? Miranda's
uh
operators. Yeah, Miranda's operators,
mhm.
I believe.
I'll
But
look it
that's
up.
the mo. Miranda's operae. Whatever. Anyway, it's something that we all do, right? It's a habitual thing, and when you start looking at certain people and the way that they move in general, you'll start to see that they have a pattern of doing shit like that in general. So it's not a thing. And again, at first I thought it was just me.
Modus
And then I'm like,
operandi. It's
modus
modus operandi.
operandi, thank you.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn, bro, I thought it was just me. But then when I actually sat back and I thought about it, because I love to think,
Mhm.
I'm like, no, I've seen this. This has popped up on multiple different fronts. So no, it's not just me. This is just how certain people operate in
Right.
general. I'm like, oh, okay. So you are your own worst enemy. Well, let me step on out your way and let you handle it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and and then when shit starts blowing up around you and crashing around you, these same motherfuckers, instead of taking ownership and stepping up and saying, hey man, I need some help. Hey man, I fucked up.
Mhm.
You know, this and the other. You let it get so fucking bad, and then you just walk away like, oh, well, it is what it is. And it's like, dude, cool. If that's how you run shit or whatever, you should, you should not have any partners on anything. Like build your business.
Mhm.
Go first off, go start a business and run it yourself because you'd be better off doing it alone. But making and it's so crazy, dude, because I've seen so many people start
Right.
amazing companies, especially the one that we had 2 days in the bookstore. Bro, that is a multi-million-dollar idea that fucking ego and pride fucked that up. Ego and pride fucked it up. Let motherfuckers' egos get the better of them. Pillow talking, all that weird shit. Cool, bro. Like, man, like I have a sense of disloyalty. Fucking trying to set up your fucking partner, fucking doing weird shit. Like, damn, folk, like that's how you are in general. I'm good. No thanks.
Uh, and
But I mean, so again, if it's just business, then
yeah,
it's just business. I understand that because people are not going to always see things the same way. But then when you start going into the venture into the realm of personal stuff, it's like, damn, like, and then you start sitting back, and again, you have to do some deep thinking. And he's like, oh, okay, now I see what happened. Perfect. All right. So now it just lets me know that when I function with certain people, I have to move in a certain direction. I
yeah.
gotta move differently. And again, and here's the thing: no love lost. I mean, I still fuck with say I still love motherfuckers. I just can't fuck with you. If
Right.
it's not in that area. I don't trust you. I can't depend on you if anything. You know what I'm saying? So I can't. I not only can I not depend on you business wise, friendship is now done too.
Hmm.
So that means that even me, with all the resources that I now have, and I have quite a few now, I'll never give you shit. You go figure it out yourself. Since you like to work by yourself,
Yeah.
you got it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so and it's so crazy how we shit on our own opportunities, man.
Well, I think, and
Oh God.
it's one of those things. All you got to do, and I'm seeing this. I've seen this before, and it
Mhm.
was with um, a couple of ventures that I had tried when I first came out of working full time, um, and a couple of things I tried, and just interacting with different people. There's a certain sense I get, and it's a weird feeling I get, but I can see what happens when somebody changes when money is on the table.
Hmm.
Like when they start switching up when money's on the table, where they almost become a different person when money's on the table. Like they go from you're super generous and compassionate and kind to money is on the table and parts of that start getting stripped away. Like there's not money out there to be made. Like there's not enough to be made.
Right.
And that can absolutely throw blinders on it without self-reflection. Sometimes you got to be able to see that within you. Am I changing up when money's on the table? You know, one of my things is I always try to, and this has been a crutch. Like this has been some. I always try to over deliver massively, even when it's not necessary.
Hmm.
And even though I'm not able to, even if I'm not able to over deliver massively, then I feel like I failed, even though I didn't. I got you to where you wanted to be, but I want to overdevelop massively where we far exceed expectations. And that's just kind of how the standards I hold myself
Right.
to the point where I lower expectations for other people and raise them on my own. So you have to have the ability to introspect as a business owner and not think that everything you do is inherently right
Hmm.
or inherently wrong, because some people do that too. But that's the challenge. Like I said, when you're partnering with another person, it's not let's go get this money together. You have to navigate personalities. You got to navigate past traumas. You got to navigate mindsets. You got to navigate. frameworks of living. Like there's a lot of different things you have to be able to navigate in order to have a clean partnership.
Right.
And you also have to build in a space for conflict
Yeah.
where we ain't seeing eye to eye on this. How do we resolve this? You know, and unfortunately, some people deal with conflict in a different manner than we're used to, and it's not productive. What is it? Maladaptive. They have a maladaptive response to conflict. And so that's what happens, man. And it tests you. You know, it could test your friendship, it could test your marriages. You know, nothing will expose shit like nothing will expose flaws in your friendships or your relationships than a bad business year.
Nah, he said in a bad bit. You know what? Yeah. And when you say the whole money situation, because that does um happen, I'm writing this down. Because like it's especially like if you know that things are going to be shit.
Hmm.
I knew that, bro, unless we're doing other things, books are not gonna save us.
Yeah.
We have to be doing other stuff to bring in some income, right? Because books ain't gonna be it. That's just it, right? You got, and again, that way that I know that because I talked to the other business bookstores around the local area.
Hmm.
I told them who I was, what I was there to do, this and the other. And I got like the bookworm gave me a lot of really cool information. The half price bookstore gave me a lot of great information.
Yeah.
Jackie Street bookstore gave me a lot of information. I was even calling outside people that sold books for like thousands of dollars because that's what they focus on. There's just one rare book um company. They sell books from anywhere 1,500 to 40 and $50,000 a book.
Wow.
That part. That's their business. That's that is that's what they get paid to do. That
Hmm.
is what their business is for. I'm like, damn. I didn't even know that was possible. Yes, it is very much possible. And because that's what they specialize in. It's selling those type of books. And when when you when you know when you first start, you also have to look at where your finances are.
Right.
How secure are you that things are gonna be that same way for the duration of your lease, right? Um, so again, you have to be coming up with different shit. And again, I take full responsibility for my part in and not preparing enough, and not just preparing enough, doing enough. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between preparing and doing
Right.
something. You know what I'm saying? It could be small as fuck, but bro, do something. What can we do to to bring in this? What can we do to bring in uh, clientele, to bring in that camaraderie, this and the other? But again, though, bro, like I told you, if that trust is gone, business is done.
Well, and here's the thing though, man, like you can prepare to be a boxer. You can train until you step into that ring at a real fight. You ain't a boxer yet. You're just somebody who just trains.
Yeah,
And so there's a level where you're over prepared for something.
yeah.
And
Oh,
and I think people get seduced by the idea of, well, I'm preparing for all the contingencies. Well, are you? Because you don't know what can go wrong until you actually try it.
oh no, you don't know what can go wrong until it goes wrong.
Everything's great. Everything is great hypothetically.
Yeah.
Everything is great when it's hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
But the practical application is where things fall apart. Other
Right.
side is I'm sitting there I'm thinking about even music duos like Pete Rock and CL Smooth. I'm dating myself. Pete Rock and CL Smooth. They hate each other.
Do they really?
Yes. Pete Rock was on Drink Champs with Noriega talking filthy. I mean, it wasn't like unprofessional, but they do not like each other
Really?
to the point where Pete Rock is like, I will never work with him again. And CL Smooth's just like, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. You know, if we get back
I
together,
mean,
and a
we
lot of
kind of like the sorry to interrupt you. Ghetto Boys.
Ghetto Boys,
Like Willie D and Bush and Will hated each other.
A Tribe Called Quest was the same thing.
Wasn't?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
You know, and a lot of it had to do with like, because here's the thing. So I know hearing both sides of it, it sounded like from Pete Rock and CL Smooth side of it, and I could be wrong, but from hearing what happened in the dissolution of that partnership was Pete Rock was a working music producer. And so he's producing a lot of other projects. CL Smooth's only project was Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Most artists don't make money off of records. I can explain the entire point system and how that stuff goes, or points on records and stuff like that. Streaming has changed the game either way, but most artists make money from touring and being on the road. Well, Pete Rock's making his money from producing rappers in his studio. CL Smooth sitting there like, hey man, I gotta eat. Like,
right.
I'm not getting paid to sit at home. I have to be out touring. And since we are Pete Rock and CL Smooth, nobody's just showing up to see CL Smooth.
Damn.
Well, he legally can't, right? Like it's the trait. Like,
what are you talking about? Fucking Color Me Bad. There's only like two of them motherfuckers that done been out and doing this and the other. Two of them.
Yeah.
And then one day it was just one, but still calls himself Color Me Bad. But then the fat Hispanic dude keeps showing up.
What's that? And En Vogue's going through their own internal things with Dawn and all this other stuff. So what I'm saying is this. It sounded like on Pete Rock and CL Smooth's part, there was a misalignment in terms of where their careers were. Pete Rock made his money sitting at home. CL Smooth needed to make money on the road and traveling. Well, he couldn't travel by himself and do their catalog because of legal things. And he probably didn't feel right. Like, I'm on the road performing these songs and I still have to cut you in when you're sitting at home. So there was a lot of other layers.
Like that Boys to Men.
Yeah.
Michael, whatever that dude, the dude with the deep voice, whatever they was doing the same thing to him. He like, why do we have to pay this dude if he not even here?
Yeah, he is sick. There's a bunch of other stuff.
He was sick and shit. Which I think that, but again, apparently he never told them
right
how sick he actually was. Because they said, like, dude, if you'd have told us that, that's something totally different than you just not showing up.
Well,
for stuff, you know what I mean?
Well, and a lot of people don't understand. Like, a lot of times groups are assembled by the record labels. Like, they don't like, sometimes they're friends. Sometimes they came up together. Sometimes, especially with singing groups, they were kind of, I have this singer and this singer and this singer. I'm going to put them together and they're going to be a group.
Like Goody Mob. Goody Mob was like that.
And there was no friendship or anything. It may be born through it, but there was no like relationship prior to. But what I'm saying is, these, hip hop legends, they had a misalignment of what their vision was for the group. Because Q-Tip is the same thing. Q-Tip is, I don't think people understand how prolific of a producer Q-Tip actually was. Like,
I didn't even know he was a producer.
He produced, like, when you see the Ummah, like, I think it was Tribe's second and third album, the Ummah, that was Q-Tip, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, and Jay Dilla. That was mostly Q-Tip. Like, he was mentoring Jay Dilla to do.
Are you talking about Jay Dilla from Slum Village?
Yes. He mentored, like, he's the one who introduced Jay Dilla to De La Soul. He introduced Jay Dilla to The Far Side. He introduced him to all these people.
I love The Far Side. I gotta write some of these names down. God damn.
But one of the things is that Q-Tip he was the main producer on most of those Tribe albums. Like, the majority of them. Like, he did most of the work. And they have an entire interview with Bob Power, who was the engineer. They even shouted him out, Bob Power, were you there? That's who was it. And basically he was saying Q-Tip would sit at his house have these beats in his mind, have his little keyboard and stuff. He kind of create them, but have them in his mind. Get on the train, come over to the studio, and be able to just regurgitate all those beats and all those sounds that he had in his brain. Like,
No shit.
but there's a lot that Q-Tip has produced. But it was also different lanes. As he was the sound of A Tribe Called Quest, there's certain things that, you feel like this is my group. I can determine what the outcomes are and stuff. And Fife was in his straits and whatnot. He was in a different place. He was in a different season in his life as he's going through, a lot of stuff with his diabetes and stuff. And so they didn't get together until it was the end of Five Dog's life.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. A lot of times, even partnerships that we think are solid aren't really that solid because there's a misalignment. And you have to know your partner enough to actually have the conversation and be able to say, hey, this ain't working. This thing ain't working. You have to have that trust in your partner to know that when I say this ain't working, I'm not saying let's blow the whole thing up.
Like we're not working.
Yeah.
This right here is not working.
Yeah. And you have to be able to not take it as a personal thing.
That part.
And so I think that's what happens a lot of times is it ends up becoming a personal thing. And I'm guilty of it. I've done it. Where
so why?
Yeah.
So why?
It's just a natural thing. But you have to recognize yourself like I am taking this personally and I need to figure out why. And then have those conversations. But nothing will test a partnership or a marriage or a relationship faster than a bad year as an entrepreneur.
I love hearing that, man.
And I'm going through it now. Like I'm struggling with, I told you, I've been on here talking about, I'm very transparent. With CMA, we lost an entire first quarter's worth of business with a venture that didn't work out. And it was a gamble. But you take little gambles like that. You take measured gambles like that when you run businesses. And this one didn't. It fell flat on its face. And coupled with the fact that somebody had, we had one of our online payment accounts compromised. It cost us an entire first quarter's worth of revenue.
Right.
And so now we're kind of piecing things together. But that means that's money that's not coming in from other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's not something I could just pull back out of and say, okay, well, I'm going to pick up this and do this. Like it's got to work because I have a lot on the table with it. And so it's figuring out how we navigate around losing that entire first quarter and where we make up the gaps, Okay. And I feel like it might be a karmic response because during the pandemic, we did really well when all these other businesses aren't doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And so now is our season of trial with it. And Hermosi say you got to go through your seasons of eating shit. That's kind of where we're at. And you go through enough of them, you learn how to not like the taste, now to avoid it. But nothing tests it quite like a bad business. And I don't think people understand it. People don't change. Here's the thing. And Fearless, you could agree or disagree. When you start a business, you always inherently there's some changes, right?
What do you mean?
Internally, you make changes. You transition from being that employee to a business owner.
Correct. You have to.
And some people don't like who you become when you shift from being an employee to a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And that can absolutely rob you and destroy relationships that you have. That's one side of it. The other side is people that have never done anything on their own as a business owner don't understand what it's like when something changes in an economy that you don't have any control over. And now your $20,000 months are now $2,000 months.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. And so they're like, well, why don't you just do X, Y, and Z? It's not that easy. The fundamentals have changed. I need to know how to adjust to this thing. And people don't understand that most businesses, like I said, I wanted to emphasize, and I actually have an article. Most businesses ain't profitable. There's Here, I could pull up. Here, I found an article where it says 5 successful companies that didn't make $1 for 5 years. I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, please do.
Reddit, and this is one that's not even listed on here. Reddit is like the third or fourth most visited website on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
They still ain't profitable. They still don't know how to. Reddit's been around forever. So I'm gonna share a screen here.
Okay.
So 5 successful companies that didn't make $1 for 5 years. Okay. For a long time, it was Square. Okay. Which is a payment processing thing. You would think payment processor, that shouldn't be hard. They struggled with it. Twitter for a long time was not profitable. It's not profitable now. But a lot of times when we're talking about big corporations, they go through rounds of raising capital, right? And the investors, a lot of times, they just want to get paid. They want to get their money's worth in terms of what they invest. And so you have to pay those investors before you pay yourself. Okay. But since they know that if they feed the machine long enough, it's going to pay them back, they're going to keep feeding the machine. Okay. So I'm going to skip it. FedEx. It took years for FedEx to be profitable. Amazon. We talked about Amazon, right? TBS. Ted Turner was losing money on TBS for a long time. ESPN, and they still go through their seasons where they're profitable and not profitable.
Really, even a sports channel goes through it, huh?
Tesla got profitable because they found they were able to tap into the craze with the carbon credits, where they're able to sell carbon credits to other car companies. So that, and the carbon credits gave them tax advantages. So they would buy them from Tesla, and then they would use the carbon credits to give themselves some tax breaks. Well, when the fundamentals of that got upturned, and this is all really recent, when they said we're going to end this federal credit program, Tesla's not profitable. They're making cars. The cars have been a loss leader for the carbon credits business they had running.
Give me a second.
All right. And so, the fundamentals of that changed. Okay. And so I know Microsoft lost money on the Xbox for years. So a lot of times when we think about business, and when we conceptualize business, we look at these titans of industry, not understanding how long it actually took for them to grow. And so if a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate can take 5 years to be profitable, why do you think that you're going to skip 2 years where you're non-profitable as a business, or 3 years? Right?
Sorry about that, sir.
No problem. But a multi-billion-dollar corporation, sometimes they may be 5 years till profitability. Why do you think your startup, the small business you're starting up, is going to be profitable day one? And if all the partners aren't on the same page with that, understanding that there's going to be a gap between us doing this thing and us getting paid, that can cause a lot of tension.
Okay.
All right. Let me go ahead. Let me see. All right. So communication is most important. Fearless, and communication styles matter. Knowing your business partners.
Yes.
Knowing their communication style and how they learn things and process things. You have to know not only how they process things, but how they receive things, and also how they communicate verbally and non-verbally. Fearless, you always talk about, I look at what's not being said.
I
do. How important is that for you? Like what's being unsaid? In your experience, how important has that been for you, seeing what's being unsaid versus what's being said?
Okay, so sorry, my brain just went blank. So here's the thing. Pardon me. Everything I do, for the most part, is based off of one premise, especially when it comes to um, partnerships, especially in business in general. Right.
Hmm.
The one thing that I talk about is total transparency. I would say whatever my weird shit is, gotta be your weird shit. Whatever you're into,
Hmm.
I'm into. This has to be more than a business thing. It has to be a relationship. This is a marriage of sorts, right?
Right.
And when you are in a marriage of sorts, communication is always key. That is the one thing that separates to me a good marriage from a shitty one. Is
Right.
people who can learn to adjust and communicate with each other. One of the things that I've seen so frequently with people in general is that motherfuckers don't like to talk. I mean, at least that's the person that you need to talk to. And let me rephrase that again. People don't like to talk to the person that you're supposed to be talking to. They
Right.
will talk to everybody else outside of your relationship with these people, but they're not talking to you. And when they stop talking to you directly, what else do you do? You know what I'm saying? The business within itself is at a is at a no point intended Mexican standstill,
Right.
right? I mean, everybody's just kind of waiting to see what the other one does. One of the things I was talking to my show last night, and one of my ex employees was on there, and I was talking to her about some of these principles that Sam Walton had, right?
Yeah.
And one of those things was again communicate everything as much as possible. Um, that's number four. The other thing is to motivate through recognition. Number two is share your profits with your partners. Um, but number one is commit to your business, right? So we're committing to the business, and I know that means when I commit to my business, I'm committing to you too, because you are part of this. So every decision that I make
Yep.
is not going to be for your benefit. It will be for the benefit of the company as a whole. Even when there was infighting in our company, I would always tell our employees, like, hey, first and foremost, number one, y'all stay neutral. I said, no, excuse me, number one, I'm sorry for everything going on. That's number one. Like, this is totally unprofessional. I am so sorry. Number one, take accountability. Number two, I need y'all, no matter what you see, to stay focused and what you're paying, why you're here. And
Right.
they would say, okay, but I work for you. I said, no, you do not. You work for two dads in a bookstore. You work for the store. I just so happen to pay you, but you work here. I said, if my partner ever walks in and asks you to do something, it's the same as me asking. I mean, it is all, we all work together. If somebody else from another crew comes in and says, hey, I need your help with whatever, you are to drop everything and help, period.
Right.
Regardless of how they act, we don't act that way. We move in one direction, that direction is forward, and we move together. Now, some people are going to fall off. That happens in anything,
Yep.
but we move together. And ironically enough, we are all still together. We all still fuck with each other, even with the company basically being disbanded or whatever. So, one of the things that, so again, in communication, you have to be able to communicate that to people. See,
Yeah.
this man is sitting there thinking that we're talking shit about them and this and the other. And then come to find out, all we talk about is positive. All I'll do is talk about positive shit. I'm going to talk about nothing negative about you. I don't need to do all that. Two black men owning a fucking bookstore. Like, why would I want beef with you? I'm not your enemy. I can
Right.
show you who your enemy is. It ain't me. You know what I'm saying? But again, if you if that's how you see other black men, then bro, that's a problem that you have.
Yeah.
That's not, there's nothing I can say or do about that. If you don't show up to do the work, bro, that says more about you than it does about us. If the only time you show up is when something big is going on, but you're not around for the small shit, again, it says more about you than it says about everything else. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
again, that's not just with my partner, that's with people in general. I've been talking to and coaching and working with other people that just and throughout my years of doing this that I've seen so many different things, especially when it comes to this. And again, like we talked about earlier, that I didn't really truly understand is that I teach, train, and sell perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always looking for a different perspective so I can teach, train, and sell it. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck it, I'm gonna let you know exactly who and what I am. Off
Right.
top, but again, that transparency. But there's this there there's this poem by this guy that to me was so beautiful, and he was basically stating that that see, this person knew who they were dealing with because you were authentically you from the very beginning,
Yeah.
but you didn't know that this person had never shown up. So they knew who they were dealing with, but you never knew what you were dealing with. And that's kind of how, that's not what I think. That's what I fucking know for a fact.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I didn't know that that certain people didn't show up. I show up to everything as is, as I am, the thoughts, ready to rock and roll, this and the other. But other motherfuckers just sitting back in the cut just watching. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna tell you exactly who and what they are, what they're into.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, then somebody like me couldn't understand something like that because I don't run that way. You know what I'm saying? If I fuck with you, I'll fuck with you the long way. Pause.
Right.
Hey, what's up, Jerry? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at certain stuff. I can't say that somebody else will be the same way because I don't get down like that. I it's for me it's total transparency. Period. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's how I look at shit. That's how I look at it.
All right.
So what about yourself?
I don't know. I think. Sorry, your brain went
Um,
blank. Mine just went blank too. I think a lot of times when I guess it's hard for me to think about how I think, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's hard for me to put that stuff into words. Um, but a lot of times that misalignment, it's hard when you're the one that's misaligned, when you're the one that's unfocused,
okay.
if that makes sense. And sometimes it's hard to take ownership of that, for me. And that's kind of the season I'm in right now, where I have so many conflicting different duties or whatnot that I always fear like I'm leaving something on the table, or I'm
Hmm.
not doing everything I need to be doing for one business or the other. And it's this weird survivor's guilt that I get. Or if I focus my efforts here, then I'm robbing efforts down the road there.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't like feeling like that. I really don't. Um, I don't feel like I don't want to feel like success in this front means that I'm robbing success on this other front. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, I have multiple businesses. Um, and for me, that's always been the challenge of, if I make this one blow out and be successful, who am I letting down on the other side?
Hmm.
I don't know, fearless.
I mean, no, actually, that's funny. That's not funny, but that's one of the things that we talk about on our stuff too, or whatever. Is when and again, so there's a couple different things for that. Number one is more of a boundary.
Hmm.
issue as opposed to a business issue type thing or whatever like that. And then not only that, but it's a lot of that's basically a thing of priorities.
Right.
Prioritizing your boundaries and prioritizing what's important, who's important, and this and the other. But we also have to understand, Brian, is that wherever you're going, not everyone and not everything is going to go along with you.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And so there's going to be a time that we have to get used to, and we have to be okay with the fact that no, there's going to be certain things that happen where where how you thought things were going to go are not going to go that way. The business that is probably going to work might be the one that you didn't think was going to do shit at all. But that's the one, unfortunately, that you're going to have most of your time is unfortunately going to be geared towards because and because that is the one that makes all the money, you have one or two options.
Yeah.
You can either A, take that money and funnel it back into this one, and then you're just going to be funding a business that's not really doing much, or kind of like you did before, turn that one business into a nonprofit organization type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
And
kind of, and
more
that's what,
type.
yep, and that's what we had to do, bro. Like, but even then, the challenge is there's only a certain amount of me that can go around, and there's only a certain amount of me that you know, and so that's where, because right now we're in this holding pattern while you know, um, Elon and Trump kind of messed up a lot of stuff with the IRS, and so they're backlogged with requests for 501c3s, and so something that should have been a 7-day process, we're going on week 3 or week 4 of it.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of stuff that we had planned to do that we can't necessarily do in the manner that we want to do it because we're still waiting to see what happens.
Hmm. So, but my point was is that so once so again you're gonna have to take the money, funnel it back over there, right?
Hmm.
Over there, do the nonprofit organization like you were talking about doing before,
Right.
right? Which is all fine and dandy. But at some point, sir, at some point, okay, it's just human nature,
Hmm.
you're going to get, I'm not going to say you're going to get, you may start resenting this thing over here because this over here is making enough to feed your family, do this, outings, vacations, this and the other. But, and it's enough for you guys to live. But then the fact that you have to fund this thing over here,
Yeah.
that is not it's more of a headache than anything else. And then you're gonna start looking at the fact that the money that I'm putting over here, I could be putting this away for over here. I could be recirculating that money back into this over here to blow this up a little bit more. And I'm not necessarily saying that I don't want to do this anymore, but this right here is becoming the profitable business, and this over here is more like a passion project.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which I don't mind putting some money and some time into, but this over here is going to build my family up for a while. This over here is going to keep my friendship afloat for the most part. This and the other, blah blah blah, whatever. So that at that point is where you have to ask those tough questions of what 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 happens, sir, when that happens? Like, what do you do when that happens?
Well, and so here's the thing. So I got the framework I go with, and this is the real. So for me, it's kind of the opposite where I'm like,
Hmm.
do I put the marketing agency down and focus on this other thing?
Okay.
Because the other things made me way more money um over the years than the marketing agency. And the reason why I'm saying that is this. And this is kind of where I'm at, where I'm kind of in this crossroads because and I'll go into it. a lot of times when a lot of the services I provide, and I just found words for what I was doing for one of the major services I had. It's a fractional CMO. So basically, you're a part-time marketing director for businesses that can't afford their own marketing department. Okay.
Gotcha.
The people that can afford that service are the ones that already have a budget to have actual marketing department staff. The people that need that service are the ones who can't afford to pay for it.
Hmm.
And so what
So
I
hold on. How do you know that they can't?
because to be a fractional CMO, because I've lived it, I've experienced it more times than not. When things slow down for a company because of things changing in the economy, the first thing that gets slashed is the marketing budget, and that really should be the last thing that gets slashed. But I've experienced it where at first everything was good and they were getting the return they were looking for, but that look back window started getting shorter and shorter. They're like 1 month, oh, you guys are great. This is amazing. You're doing everything we need to. And we deliver the same outcomes the next month. I'm not sure if this is worth it because they've got acclimated to where they are now. And then the third month, I don't know. Even though you've produced the same outcome month over month, they've gotten used to the outcomes you're producing and you're not accelerating it, if that makes sense. You're not jumping
Gotcha.
exponentially, you're jumping was it arithmetically, where you're not multiplying, you're just adding, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say that, when you look at the going rate for like fractional CMOs and those kind of services, the industry is around like $5,000 to $10,000 a month. But since there's so much that's involved with running a marketing department as a one or two person organization, your bandwidth to take on new clients is really limited. You can only take on one, maybe two at the max. And
Mm.
if one of those goes away, that's 50% of your income. And since that's not an easily sold service, there's an entire um, conversation that happens before people are willing to plunk down that kind of money. And what I found is a lot of times the businesses that can afford the businesses that need that specific service can't afford to pay for that specific service because you're talking about something that's 30 or 40 hours a week for me to do, to fulfill, right? So I have to get compensated for that time. And I can't, if I raise the prices, the businesses that would use that service won't be able to afford it. And the people that can't afford that service already have an in-house marketer that they have on their staff. They're already structured in a way that they have that money set aside for that. I'm hoping that makes sense. So,
Okay, keep going.
so that's the challenge. Like, because it's time consuming. Last time we did fractional CMO
Hey,
services, last time we did fractional CMO services, it was for a local nonprofit. And they needed a marketer. They needed a marketing department. And so we were the marketing department and we were doing everything. We were putting in 50, 60-hour work weeks, you know, and the contract was like $42,000 in total for it. But we were putting in more time. And so those hours that I was doing all that stuff, that I wasn't able to market that service to other people. And even if we took on another client, like I had other clients that were getting squeezed to the margins because I didn't have the ability or bandwidth to take on new people. And I didn't have enough time to bring in a VA, a virtual assistant, to offload some of that stuff and get them caught up and acclimated. And so once that one went away, I had to go through a whole nother process, another months long process of finding somebody else to fill that spot. And like I said, to be honest with you, that is the marketing industry in a nutshell. You're doing marketing for small businesses. Most of the people that can afford that most of the businesses that can't afford you don't necessarily need you because they already have somebody internally. And the businesses that need you can't afford you.
I mean, but see, Do you mind if I do some perspective coaching right quick?
Go for it.
All right. So the word, and you've said this multiple times now. You said that the people that need you can't afford you. But as I'm looking at this and my mind starts flooding in, the one word that keeps popping into my head is he's justifying, he's using excuses. So here's the thing that pops into my head. These people can't afford not to be using you.
Yep.
Period. They can't afford not to. So it's not a thing that they can't afford you. It's that they can't afford not to. It's just like if I'm charging $2,500 per month, but I can help you get calm, simplify your life on shit, help you reframe your perspective a little bit so that it takes the fucking pressure off of you.
Mhm.
That's worth to somebody else. If I say that's worth $3,500 and some odd dollars per month, go get the fucking money because you can't afford not to. Look at all the shit you got going on. You need something to offset this. Period. If you could have already done it, you would have already done it by now.
Yeah.
If you could have done it cheaper, you would have done it already by now. But you see, if we're talking, it's because you fucking need me. You know what my fee is. Go get a loan, pay it, let's get working. That is it. So here's the thing. And again, as you're talking, I'm writing this shit down because I am pretty good at multitasking,
Mhm.
regardless of what Jessica says about me. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. The other thing about one of the things that Grant Cardone and even your boy, what's his name, Russell, was talking about, man, bro. And I talked to you about this before. Is flood the fucking funnel. Like I get that you can't do that at first, but you saw what was coming. So it's like, okay, I'm talking about from the standpoint of making 40 some thousand within that time period. You had a certain amount of time to get this stuff done. You had no structure in place for any of this. You had no systems in place for any of this, which is a good thing because it gave you the experience to be like, oh shit, okay, I was totally caught off guard by this, and this. Now I can, if I do something like this again, this is the first thing I need to have put in place. Second thing in place, third thing in place. So it's not like I can't do the work. It's that, like you said before, you need to have a system where you can compartmentalize these things for these people over here, right?
Mhm.
So the other thing is going back to your boy, what's his name, David Doe?
Mhm.
Is that his name?
Christo.
Doe? Chris Doe. Fuck, I'm always fucking his name up. Sorry, Chris. It's hours versus services. You know what I'm saying? Like hours versus service. That's one of the things that I remember him talking about in general or whatever. And then I remember reading this coaching book and they were talking about stop looking at shit from that standpoint of hours. That's that is that employee mindset type shit. When you're going from that to employee to entrepreneur to boss to whatever, it's based on the service that you are providing. So if that service takes however long, then that's just how long it takes. But it's that service, it's that end objective that they want. So it doesn't matter what this over here. And this is what your boy was saying.
So
He's like, go ahead.
so I'll caveat some of this stuff because here's the thing with the marketing industry, and
Give it to me.
it's kind of inside chatter. Here's the thing: it's a very "what have you done for me lately" kind of industry,
I
and
get that.
it's one of the highest churn services across the board.
Hmm.
So even really successful marketing agencies have a ton of churn because you can do an excellent job marketing a company, and more times than not when they're stepping to you, the bottom is falling out of something else.
Hmm.
And so if you aren't able to save their entire company through your marketing efforts, that's a client that you will not keep. And so on average, you might be 6 months, 6 months to a year, and then even if you're doing everything right, they're like, yeah, well, because I don't have control over the other aspects of the follow up and communication systems, how well they get in contact with um, clients, how quickly they get in contact with clients, how they fulfill the services, what their technicians do when they, and so, or what their therapists do, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of elements that don't necessarily go into what the outcomes are. I can bring all the people to your door, right? But if your fulfillment is terrible,
Ah,
if your
I
fulfillment
got
is
you.
terrible, and so that's kind of what happens. So by the time somebody's coming to me, they're in emergency mode because they done tried everything else. And so that's why when a digital marketer gets brought in, and that's why I was actually, and so when I say I'm putting down the eight, so, and I'll clarify because I know I misspoke. I was thinking about putting down the agency side of my marketing business and focusing more on the strategy side
Okay.
of my marketing business, because the agency side is the done for you services that are super time consuming.
Okay, gotcha.
The strategy side is, this is what I know and this is how I can help you grow and this is how you can implement it.
Okay, gotcha. So the one is do it for you. The other one is do it with you.
The do it for you is very high churn.
Yeah, buddy.
And so people bring you in and you're supposed to save everything. And if you don't save everything, or if there's another piece that you don't control, you out the door. And there have been plenty of times where you're like, man, you've done great, but these things are out of my, this stuff ain't going right over here. And I have to divert my resources over here. And I feel like I can do some of this other stuff, but I have to divert my resources over here or attribute it to this side. And so it turns into a really messy part of it. And so when I'm talking about that's the side of my business I'm looking to put down, I actively really do want to put some of my agency services down. I still will keep some of the done for you services, the ones that aren't super time consuming, but me running your entire marketing department, that's a I've even looked at some of my competitors. They charge it, and then since they have multiple staff who can handle it, they're charging $20,000-$30,000 a month. But they have the staff to facilitate that. I could charge $20,000 or $30,000 a month, but I don't have I'm not big enough yet, and there's still an onboarding process where I would still need to bring on the staff to do it. And so I need to look at what my bandwidth is for 100-hour work weeks. You know what I'm saying? While providing that service, while I bring on the people on board, if that makes sense. So there's lots of tiers and layers to it, but I just feel like the marketing agency model is one that's very, very difficult to maintain.
Okay.
Unless you have, and even when I look at marketing agencies around here, they're specializing in other stuff that isn't necessarily marketing. It's, we'll sell you a system so that you can accomplish a thing. Sell you a system so you can accomplish a marketing thing. Not, we'll come in and do it for you.
Right.
So I just want I'm putting down, the thing is, I'm like, I might have to put down the agency side and just be focused on the strategy side of it. Because right now, like when I'm selling, like Fearless, I'm using you and me as an example, right? I didn't do a lot of done for you stuff. I told you kind of what you need to do to get started with live streaming. I gave you the roadmap and said, this is strategy. This is what you need, this is equipment, blah, blah, blah.
Strategies, yep.
And then you took it and ran with it.
Yes.
That's what I want to do.
Yes.
That's where I want to be. So I don't want to sell you the hamburger. I'll just teach you how to fry it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'd rather let other people do all that done for you stuff. But in order to bridge the gap, I got to find some done for you clients so I can bridge the gap and transition over to the strategy side of things.
Gotcha.
So that's what I'm saying. That's my thinking on it. So I misspoke when I'm like, I'm looking at putting it down. What I'm looking at getting rid of is the done for you services.
Gotcha.
Where I'm doing everything. Because when last time we had our big client with done for you, and I'm saying our and we, because it's me and my wife. And that dominated all of our free time.
Okay.
because they needed so much. They needed 4 people to do the job that us 2 people were doing. And even then, it wasn't fast enough because my vision was we'll get this started. We'll get started on a YouTube channel. We'll create content for that. And that will be our inbound marketing for this nonprofit. But every time I poke my head up to start working on that thing, it's Brian, we need this. We need this. We need this. Can you make this? Can you make this? Can you make this? And these are all aligned marketing tasks. And I couldn't necessarily say no to them because they were actually needs at the time because there were things that needed to get done. But I could never get focused on the vehicle that was actually going to set them up for years, if that makes sense. I couldn't build. I didn't have time to build the construction on that stuff because I'm sitting there designing business cards and designing flyers and doing promotional, designing surveys and end of the year stuff,
Right.
and doing the graphic work on it.
Okay.
So that's the roundabout way of saying I don't want to do done for you services as much anymore, and that's the part of the business I'm putting down. Because if I could just invest all into the sports training business and just have a team of videographers to go record stuff and I push the button and approve this and, I'm operating kind of as a nonprofit, I would do that and sit in that chair. And then have my marketing agency as kind of a little boutique strategy kind of thing where you pay me a certain amount. I come out and sit down and teach you how to do the thing that you need to do.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I'm going with.
No, and I totally get that. That makes sense. I like that.
So, and it's not to invalidate, but like I said, man, the marketing thing, and for those, and I'm gonna just tell you, man, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that sell. You could just have a digital marketing agency, and you could just use AI. It's not a plug and play business. It's not a plug and play business model, folks. Even with AI, you can't just jump in there and do it because there's so many people doing the same thing that you're doing. Even if you differentiate yourself, you can differentiate yourself so much that people don't know what the hell you're offering.
Hey, you know what? It's so funny. I was Jessica sent me something on this commercial for ChatGPT, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was a cool commercial. Don't get me wrong, but like, matter of fact, let me see if I could pull it up, dude, because I think everything you just said right now, it's going to. Hold on one sec. Let me try to. Hold on. Oh, okay. Can I open this up a little bit? Here, let me push that. Oh, oops. Can we push that over? Push this over here. Hold on, let me see. Okay, yep, okay, there it is. Okay, perfect. All right, so give me 1 sec. I'm gonna pull it up. Cause God damn it. I want you to see what is this? This is Facebook. Okay. Hold on, let's see. Is it? Oh shit, there it is, over there. All right, there you are. All right, yeah. Sorry about that, man. So the great thing about this is that, man, like, you taught me how to do all this shit, so now I know where everything is. All right, let me show you this.
All right, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I'm gonna get back to. There's an email there's an email that popped up that I'm trying to get off my screen here. All right, gotcha. I'm back.
Ready?
Yep.
People are not aware of this.
Oops, hold on, let me go in and put the sound. Okay, there we go. Okay, got it.
So if you're a huge fan of ChatGPT and AI, and you're always looking for the next best tips, tricks, and hacks, this one might blow your mind. Because I thought everybody knew about it, but apparently they don't. So if you come over to ChatGPT and you go to tools and you hit search connectors, you can search a bunch of things that are already connected to ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Gmail, we've got HubSpot, we've got Outlook, we've got Google Drive, and we've got Google Calendar. And what does this mean? You could say, hey, ChatGPT, can you show me the emails that I have that are unread? Okay, cool. This email, can you respond to it to me in this tone and use the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People so that they respond to it in my favor? And then can you go ahead and send that email out for me? And it can go ahead and do that. You could also say, hey, ChatGPT, I need you to look at my calendar. Tell me what's on my calendar for next Friday, and I need you to add a meeting to it. You need to invite this specific contact. Make sure you send them an invite to it, and it needs to include the Google Hang so it can be a video call. Also set a reminder to send me a text 20 minutes before that call. And it can go ahead and do that. It also connects to HubSpot, a bunch of other things. It also has capabilities for you to do your own connections. So yeah, it's here to make your life a whole lot easier. Who here did not know that? Let me know. Let me know if you guys want me to share more. I got them all. So,
all right. So this is what here's what I want to show you. Because I love it when people fucking lie.
Right.
I love it. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I want to show you this because I think
I pulled it up and I can't see what she's talking about.
Right. Okay. No, I did. So give me a second. Let me show you my screen. I'm gonna share my screen with you so you can see what we're talking about. Okay. So the tools that she's talking about are where are they at? Are they over here? The apps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I don't know, these are apps or they I don't know, she said tools, create image, search web. Okay, so here. Okay, nope, so it's not.
Yeah, I thought I was tripping.
So, no, actually, I did pull that up. I pulled that part up. I can't seem to find it now, but no, I did pull that up. Hold on one second. Let me say, damn, where is that? So again, oops, or whatever. So what she said, it would be, as you can see, that it's not there so quick and there's any other. I was like, oh, all you have to do is pull that up, okay? So, all right, so we're done with that. So here, let's watch this. Dictate, okay, voice mode. Hey Tom, can you check my emails and tell me which ones I have read versus which ones I have not read?
I wish I could help with that, but I don't have direct access to your email inbox. If you want, I can definitely walk you through some steps on how to check them yourself or help you with any other tasks you need.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, did you hear that? So, everything she just told you that you can do, that it doesn't have that capability for that. Now, you might be able to extend, because like I said, there is. Here, let me look on here. Let me go to new chat.
And it might be under settings.
Dude, I know that I just found it because I just where's what it said? Where's my settings?
So it could be under settings.
Do you see settings on here?
It will be under at the top. So at the top over on the right side. Yep, all the way over. There.
Yeah.
Click on that.
On my plus?
Yep. And then there's settings right there.
Oh, settings. Okay.
And then there's connectors. And so now we can connect it.
Sorry, that's where it is. So as you can see, this is all these are already enabled.
Mm-hmm.
These up here are. So it can go directly into my inbox and all that shit. But it's telling you that it doesn't have access like that because of privacy settings in general. So it can't do that. So it's funny as shit to me how they'll say like, oh yeah, it can do all this stuff. And then when you go in to try to do that, it doesn't work that way.
Well, and that video screams, I saw somebody do a thing online and I'm telling you that you can do it. Like, hey guys, this is something that's really cool that you can do, but she hasn't really tested it out herself.
Right. So then why even talk about some shit that you have no idea what you're talking about?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, shut up.
Because you would
Like,
have to, she should have just given the steps like, and this is where you go to
yes,
connect it.
yeah,
And,
yeah, yes. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, go there. Because as soon as she said that, Jessica sent it to me. I'm like, I don't think it works like that, but like, they're always updating this thing. And I have a paid for version
yeah.
or whatever. So and again, there's two types of versions. As you guys can see, I have the plus, and then they have the pro, which is $200 a month. That, but I don't know what that. I'm good.
Right.
Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what. Like, what? Like, I have no idea. What limited Sora videos? Do you know what Sora videos are?
Yeah. Those are the AI generated videos.
Okay, cool. So again, I don't right now, at least I don't need that. Business stuff, I mean, maybe that one does something different. Fuck, I don't know.
But
But again, you don't need all the shit that this woman is talking to you about.
well, and I think that my frustration with that video is she didn't explain all the steps. Like you have to manually go in and connect the thing.
GPT, sorry.
Yeah, you have to manually
There
go
it
in.
is.
You got to manually go in and connect the thing.
Yes.
It's not as simple as she says it, where it's automatically connected. And so
No.
by leaving that piece out, there's a lot of people, because I'm even sitting there looking at my chat GPT I pay for, and I'm like, okay, so where is that? If she had done it herself, she's like, okay, first thing you need to go is go over to your settings
Yes.
and click on your settings and then connect this stuff manually in order for this to work. So this looks like something that she saw somebody else talking about
Right.
and decided to do a video on it. And so if you pull up the comments, I promise you pull up the comments, people are like, so where is this? And you left out pieces of it. And that's the thing that you're into. Like when I'm talking about digital marketing agencies, there's a bajillion pieces of content out here about how to start your own digital marketing agency, right? But most of them are people who've never started a digital marketing agency. They just see other people talking about launching a digital marketing agency and decided that they're going to try it.
Right. So yeah, I'm actually looking through her comments now, and let me show you what one of them says. Oh, I think there's probably something. Guys getting crazy out here. I want to send you some most powerful GPTs. Blah blah blah. Okay. Doesn't that also mean that you're giving a private firm and LLM access to much of your private data and information, which they currently don't have?
Yep.
Yes, I knew I could do this. I use this daily, but it's worth considering if you're ready to give all of it over to a private firm.
Right.
And then it says again, okay, and then it says again, I think that we need to be very careful about telling people to connect, especially if they have a work account, no AI policy, and especially if they have client data. You could be violating your own data policies without even knowing it.
Yeah.
So again, ChatGPT itself just said I can't do that because I don't have access to your stuff. And when I talked to it yesterday about it, it said we don't have that capability. That might be a third person party type of thing, but we can't do that because that's giving us access to your stuff, which we can't get into your system like that.
Yeah, we can't send or receive emails on your behalf.
Emails, not at all. Now you can write some shit. You can cut and paste something over here. We can look at it and do all the stuff she just said. But having ChatGPT go in there, find these unread things. Stop, fucking shut up.
Yeah,
That's that lying shit, bro.
but that's the social media game. There's a lot of people out here, and so that's why, again, if I didn't have any kind of ethics or morals, if I could just shut my morals off for like 6 months, I'd be a millionaire in 3.
In 3 what?
If I could shut off my morals and ethics for 6 months, I would be a millionaire in 3 months. Because I have a real strong aversion to giving people false information. I really do. I just don't like giving people false information. I don't like giving people stuff I've never tried and can't vouch for.
And that, yeah, right. And that's kind of what it is, man.
But if I didn't have morals or ethics, if I could flip a switch in my brain and say, I'm gonna just start scamming people and I don't really care about what happens, I'd be rich pretty quick. And I think a lot of times on social media, there's a disconnect between what you say and the accountability for what you say. And some people get on there and they like the likes and they like the shares and everybody patting you on the back, talking about how great and wonderful you are. And they don't really feel like they owe any accountability to that. So it is what it is. We got really far afield of what we were talking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
I mean, keep going though.
But it fits in kind of what we're talking about, right? Like, you know, when you have different perspectives or there's a misalignment. Okay. So let's go ahead and wrap it up here. We talked about the communication piece of it, right? And miscommunication is a major contributor to business failures, especially in partnerships. Sometimes I think over communication of mismatched expectations can do the same thing. So if you don't talk about where the mismatch is and you're just over communicating about business related stuff, but you never talk about where the gaps are in terms of what your vision is, what your shared vision is, I think that can contribute to it too.
Okay.
You know, I talked about specifically in the music industry how bands have broken up. Hall and Oates are suing each other, man. Like it's real beef. The beef between Hall and Oates is real, man.
What?
Yeah, Hall and Oates is suing each other, man.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Is that one of them little fake news things you got going on?
Oh no, this is real. I saw this. They're interviewing I think it's Daryl Hall, John Oates. I think John Oates is suing Daryl Hall.
Why is John suing Daryl?
Because what they're trying to do is and so I'm about to get into it here. So one of the things is when you hear about artists selling their music rights to a company, right? Like I'm selling, you know, you're hearing some artists selling their library to a third party, right? People think that, well, they're selling all their music, they're giving all the music away to another company. No, what they're doing is they're leasing access to it. So that company can manage requests to use the music and royalties and all that other stuff for a small fee, right? Okay. So if Nike calls and says, hey, we want to use such and such a song in a commercial, the person that they sold their rights to brokers that entire exchange and negotiates the cut. So basically you're just leasing access for a limited time, right? Well, I think John Oates, they're all John Oates. I think John Oates was the one that wanted to sell the rights for some of Hall & Oates catalog so that he can make money off of the royalties. And Daryl Hall said absolutely not. And so they're beefing about that.
I mean, but what is the lawsuit going to do?
Allow him to either sell, like he's trying to get out of the contract stipulation that he signed and saying it's actually preventing him from making money off of his own thing, off of his own creation.
So that'd probably be more like Daryl doing that than John, because I don't think John really like wrote it.
It's a lawsuit. It's a lawsuit. It's a lawsuit, and I think it's a counter lawsuit, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pulling it up, Hall & Oates lawsuit. But they basically are basically falling out behind this entire thing because Oates, he's like, I want to make money off of this. Yeah, okay, Daryl Hall and so Oates, and so they're basically back and forth on this breach of contract and all this other stuff. So they're even beefing. There was a misalignment in communication in terms of expectations and shifting needs of clients, because what your need is as a business partner 1 year can be different than what it is another year. You're in a different season of your life, right? And I think, you know, Oates sounds like he's in the I want to make money. I need to make money off this catalog before I die phase. And Daryl Hall's like, I'm not selling my music to anybody.
Okay.
So that's the back and forth of it. But sometimes not even communicating when you're in a different season of your life than when you started the business partnership. That can be a breakdown. And so I think some of the steps is you have to be transparent. Like, hey, man, the fundamentals of this thing have changed, and this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I need. Are we still viable as a partnership with my unique needs now? And figure out where you are.
Okay.
We talked about the breakdown and erosion of trust and stuff like that. Fearless, do you have any other insights to add on this stuff, man? Like,
so so again, I do presentations every night. You know this.
Yep.
Every single night, some nights. And I found a presentation thing that it basically teaches you or helps you to build a slide out and all this other stuff or whatever. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm good. And I call my chat GPT Tom or whatever. So I'm like, Tom, are you there? Yes, I'm here. What do you need? And I said, is this connect even worth it? Because we're already doing our own presentations now. And he said, you're absolutely right. We're already diving into slide creations right here. No extra connections or platforms are needed. This setup is the main service. I build full polished presentation slides for you directly in the chat one by one, including content, images, and speaker notes. If you're ready. Oh, okay. Well, here, let's try it. Yes, please. Let me see what it does. Disallow. I'd love to see what it comes up with. See if it comes up with anything better than what I do. But anyway, so, but again, I'm not going to talk about something that I haven't done myself.
right.
So I don't know if it does a really good job or not or whatever. I know that I like to think I do an okay job, but I might see this and be like, God damn, this is way better than my shit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at that. But I'm sorry, but what was the question, sir?
So in terms of how do we fix communication in business partnerships?
Oh, how do we? Oh shit. Okay, it's a little something different.
And the context I used is when the fundamentals have changed and you're in a different season in your life than when you first started the business venture.
Okay.
Like you have different needs. So that's kind of the context I'm putting it in. How do you fix the communication?
So, first and foremost, I think that a lot of it has to do with why you're not communicating in the first place. That's what I would say. Number one, at least identify that, because if it's money, then it needs to be based around money. If it's something else, then it needs to be based. Hold on one sec. Okay, then it needs to be based around that too. And again, I personally think that if a person is going to if you're going to communicate or you want to averse it, you need to, at least like I said, understand what you were talking about, what you're not communicating and why you're not communicating.
Okay.
Right. Because I would say, well, just start talking, which is the most easiest of them all or whatever. Right. So Um. So the first thing is why are you not right? Like why are you not talking? Right? Um. Is it um is it the communication? What specifically are you not communicating in?
Right.
Like you see what I'm saying? So is it the business part of it? Is somebody not showing up? Is it the money? Is it is it something personal? Like I think if you understand what that is, then that gives you the bridge to go over and have that conversation that you might need to have or whatever, right? If that
Right.
makes any sense. So um so for certain people or whatever, like if you're having an issue with money, with finances, you can only talk about that shit so much. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that I suggested to my partner, hey, how about we just shut the company down? I mean, dude, you have no money, but that's what you say. I mean, everything costs this, everything costs that. You're picking and choosing what you want to pay for and what you don't. If we don't have electricity, you ain't got cable.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? He's hell bent. Oh, well, no, we need cable. We need internet. You can't have this unless the fucking energy bill's paid. Like the one can't exist without the other. So cool. I'll go ahead and cave. Send half the money for Cox. Guess what? Fucking energy gets cut off, and now this dude's nowhere in sight. So again, it's like, dude, I told you that you can't have the one without the other. So again, you can have those conversations, but if the one person's not listening, then why the fuck you keep talking? Stop talking. I mean, there's sometimes that, dude, there's nothing else to say. I mean, like, and I don't mean that to be putting people business out because again, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's just certain things that's like, no, there's nothing else I can do. There's nothing else I could say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to know when to shut the fuck up and walk away.
Yeah.
You know, once I see that there's no trust, once I see that you've been sandbagging the shit out of me, once I see that you're a pillow talker, once I see you're a rat, the fuck else is there to talk about? And again, that's not like what I went through. I'm just saying in general, because I've seen people go through that shit. Like, no. Like, dude, once it turns personal, it's over.
Well, you gotta
That's how I see it.
you gotta both be on the same accord. Like
Yeah,
if this
you will.
if this is a passion project, then both of you have to share the passion. If this is strictly about money, then both of you have to strictly be about the bottom line and the money. But one person can't see this as a long-term passion project. Another person can't see this as strictly about money and expect that this thing is going to work. There has to be some kind of mutual shared thing. And so, and yeah, there's a point where we've reached the end of communication. And only further communication is only making the relationship worse.
Yep.
And so now it's time to pack things up and move on.
I mean, and that's literally, sir, that's all I'm saying. Is that I'm just saying that I think that there's sometimes with certain situations that, dude, again, you need to walk the fuck away.
Well, and here's the thing I'm gonna throw out there, and then we can wrap it up. It also pays to know what kind of person you're dealing with when the thing ends, because there's some people, and I used to see it with my group home kids a lot. There are some people that aren't able to say, "I'll see you later, goodbye." They have to blow up everything, burn every bridge, turn the relationship sour before they can walk away.
What if it's already sour?
Yeah, well, I know, but that's what I'm saying is.
You know what I'm saying?
What I'm saying
is, it already is.
Well, no, what I'm saying is there are some people that they can't end on a cordial note. They have to burn everything down to the ground and destroy the entire relationship before they can walk away. As opposed to, hey, this didn't work out, man. We'll catch you. I'll catch you on the flip.
Just shake hands and walk away. Like,
yeah.
You know
and
like, yeah.
It helps to know who you're dealing with that kind of stuff. Because I used to have kids all the time. When it was naturally, they weren't leaving on a bad note, but they made it a bad note when they left because they would act like a maniac on the way out the door because they don't know how to end relationships or end seasons of relationships without
Yeah.
crashing out. And you have to know who you're dealing with, because some people will try to burn their life to ash or burn your relationship to ash instead of just shaking your hand and saying, hey, this didn't work out, maybe we can get up on something else.
Right.
And so the one is way more damaging than the other one. I'm just being honest with you.
No, you're right. You're right. You're very much right.
They
You're
won't
very much right.
they won't leave you. The thing is, and this is the last piece, they won't leave you intact. They take a chunk of you. They try to take pieces of you as they go, as opposed to just leaving as their whole self. They got to take pieces of you with them and pull it out of them, pull it out of you. And that's a dangerous partner to get into any kind of a relationship or a business venture with. If they can't leave without it being chaotic, then that's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I mean, and that part fucking sucks, dude. I mean, like seriously, and again, like I said, I think that before, and again, you can only vet somebody so much,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like you can only vet a person so much before you're just kind of like, you know what, I'm good, you know, and you still jump into a relationship with these people, and you still end up getting fucked in the end, even with all of the platitudes, all the uh, 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 all the things that you would want a partner to have. They can still end up being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They can still end up being a fucking liar and a manipulator and a lazy motherfucker who doesn't do shit. So a motherfucker who makes complaint, who is always complaining about something or always making excuses for why shit didn't get done or why I can't do this and why, you know what I'm saying? Like there's always motherfuckers that's sitting there willing and ready to make excuses, and that happens constantly.
Yeah.
So I would love to sit and tell a person, nah, things will work themselves out. Things will be good. No, they probably won't.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. You can't beat yourself up when that thing doesn't work out, because I used to say serial killers are always really good at looking like normal people, looking and acting like normal people. That's why they're so good at their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Con men are very good at their jobs by looking and acting like everybody else. And so
knowing that they've been plotting on you the whole fucking time.
Right. And so you just got to balance it out. And sometimes the person that is the serial killer or the con man or has that mentality, it might just be a contextual thing. It may just be in the dynamic of the relationship or working relationship with you. And there's something with their interaction with you where it brings out where they are at their worst selves. I've experienced that, with a borderline personality thing where when they interact with you, they're always the worst to you and they're great to everybody else. And you got to see that, see what that is. So anyway, y'all, I wish we had all the answers for you, but we don't. Sometimes you just got to realize when it's time to bounce and try to leave intact. But
at least try.
And try to have the communicate. And the idea is have the communication, but always be looking to see, okay, is this effective? Or they've implemented what we're saying? So that's all we got. Fearless, what do you got coming up, man?
Tonight we have part 2 of whatever we were working on last night. I don't know which one. Let me see. What is it? Principles Made by Sam. Tonight will be night. Tonight is season 10, episode 95. So again, we got 5 more episodes and we're done.
All right.
I wanted to talk to you about something too after we're done here.
Okay, I will pitch it here. So what I got going on, guys, is the service I'm pushing right now is basically helping you repurpose your content and build a leads engine for yourself. And it's not just for business owners. You can use content to really reinforce your resume on places like LinkedIn, and things like that. By building out your content, people get a chance to see how you think in real time, and that's the stuff that's not always on a resume. I'm doing it with my boy Brian Bell, who runs the Career Level Up podcast. Just by doing this has opened up nothing but opportunities for him, even as somebody who is still working corporate. Like, he's getting job offers, he's getting freelance opportunities just based on the fact that we're posting content that he's created and showing his thought leadership. We're posting it on LinkedIn. So hit me up if you're interested, and I can kind of explain what that looks like. So that's about it. The thing I'm designing this week is I have had some requests from people who want me to do copywriting but can't afford it. So I'm actually creating some plug and play content packs so that it gives you ready-made social media posts and ready-made themes and stuff. And so I'm gonna be launching that here probably in the next couple of hours. So stay tuned for that. And I guess that's the end. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Brian.
I'm Fearless.
Talk to y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.
Fearless.
Peace.
Hey.